Hey, I'm Grant, and welcome to Digression Bar episode 12. I'm joined by
Andrew.
So, Andrew, what's up? It's been like a month since the last podcast because we did two back to back.
It's been at least a month since I've seen you. School's been annoying. My one Korean teacher, not a fan.
Did he ever figure out how to start that PowerPoint?
Yes, he did. He's used multiple PowerPoints since then. But English, not great.
Great.
Teaching, not great.
So, I guess since my last podcast, one of the first things I'm excited about is I finally, after a year, fixed my desk. When it came, the drawer, like the keyboard drawer I use, I guess it turns out that the drawer wasn't wide enough for the slot. And I think the source issue is for the panel it attaches to is too far in or something.
Yeah.
Well, that was a thing. And I originally didn't notice. I just thought it was a bad drawer that just kind of got stuck. Turns out, since there wasn't enough space, eventually if it got hit too far to the right, the drawer would just fall off. But
Off the rail.
Yeah. But it's still attached to the other rail, so it like pulls that down.
So it's breaking the other rail.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. So I took it off, and actually I got Nebraska Furniture Mart to come out. They looked at it and we'll order a part. We'll come do it.
Okay.
And then I got the call hey, your part's in. Come pick it up. It's like, you were supposed to bring that to me. But then I was lazy and I didn't deal with it for like 2 months. And then I finally was like, I'm just gonna get the part and not worry about the fact they didn't send anyone because I also didn't deal with this for 2 months.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I tried to reinstall it, and this is long because it's been a whole year. I don't know the whole time scheme. And put them back in, but again, the drawer is still not big enough for the slot. So the fact that I have two working parts isn't really a fix.
So can you not put the parts further apart? Like it's literally not wide enough to do that, or what?
Yeah, that's what we ended up doing is we put washers on the ends so that it's further out, so it fills the slot. I just finally did that. It was a whole thing on Friday to get this done because it's let's put all this on. It's nope, we need one more washer. Take it all apart. Put one more tiny little washer on. And then it's well, it's not working. It's we'll get in, but it won't go all the way back. Let's pull it out and check everything. It's can't figure out why it's not working.
When you say we, you mean you and Jamie?
My dad was over himself. It was just and finally it was just, I guess, the first time you just really had to push it in there. And once you kind of slammed it the first time, now it works.
Yeah.
But I finally have that desk back. It's one of the reasons I got this desk. That was a requirement. I wanted what?
It's like the Hyman.
Yeah. Well, one of the first reasons I got this desk, because it's an awesomeness, is I wanted a keyboard drawer so that I could hide my keyboard and have somewhere for my mics. And that was currently the annoying thing. It's when we do D&D, I have the keyboard here and my screen's here that can't go any far back, and I have to fit a mic somewhere here that isn't blocking the entire screen. And it was really annoying, and I finally dealt with that, and I'm so happy. I just want to brag about that because that was a whole thing. I took PTO off on Friday, and basically I took a whole day of PTO to fix a desk drawer.
How is the audio for our D&D sessions?
It sounds exactly like you would hear us.
Okay.
So, because it's just recording straight off of my desktop, so it's okay. But if you go robotic, you go robotic on there. Obviously, my audio is better because it's recorded from my PC.
Right.
I haven't listened to it back too much. I think there's a couple issues where I guess I had a bad mic cord, so my mic would just cut out all the time, and that was a known issue. But you only notice it on long recordings because it happens. It's there's 50% chance it happens every 10 minutes or something. It was something stupid, and I still don't know what the cause was.
For how long? It's cut out for a moment?
I don't know. All I know is that people would bring in the chat your mic's not working. It's I didn't touch anything, and I don't know how it broke. The only thing that my cord has done is it sat on my desk for a year, and then just one day it decided I'm fucking broken. It makes no sense. And I thought, thankfully, it was the $3 mic cord and not the mic or anything. But I was just what happened? What changed? I don't know.
Where, I don't know, yielded on one side.
I think it was just the connection, from the cord to the actual XLR connector was loose or something. I don't know. They're cheap.
So do you know it was the cord and not the plug?
Yeah, because it seems like it's been fine since I changed the cord. And I have enough XLR cards anyway.
I don't know. I've had weird things with earplugs or earphones, whatever, that sometimes when you plug it into the device, they work, and then it turns a little bit the actual insert, and then it doesn't work. You turn a little more, it works again. You turn more, and I don't know what it is. If it's, but then I get a new set of earphones, and then they work perfectly fine. It's like, what's the problem with this device that's cylindrical metal? You can turn it, and it doesn't work a little bit in one direction, but another does, and then doesn't again.
I have the same thing with my headphones that I use for running. And I think what it is the actual copper cord connecting to the port, like where they're joined. I think if you put stress, over time it breaks a little bit.
Right.
So that's why just by twisting it, it sometimes lines up just perfectly. That's what I think happens. And that's why if you get a new one, it's not a problem because it doesn't have that wear and tear on the actual cord.
Okay.
But I'm always torn because, like, should I get better headphones? Because on one hand, maybe they're higher quality and won't have that issue, or they'll last longer. Or they're all going to have that issue and it's a waste of money. But I'm also not going to get, like, wireless headphones because that'd be a whole freaking thing to deal with. So...
The ones that like wrap around your neck and you pull them. And I think my brother has a pair like that. And I don't know.
It's just annoying. It's the same thing because it's like then it's just this debate of how long can I get like away with this? Like right now, the ones I use at work to run with are totally going through that. And it's getting to the point where it's like now I have to like hold my phone, otherwise it does that thing. Mm-hmm. And just like, well, this isn't terrible and it only affects me 1 hour a day. But it's also really annoying. But I don't want to go to Best Buy or wherever just to buy headphones. And I feel like I'm petty if I buy them off like Amazon. Because then it's like I'm shipping this one little thing just because I'm too lazy to go to the store.
Or you buy more than one thing and you throw that in.
Well, I've thought about just buying like a set of 5 just so I can go through them. And I know I have like the same one. I want to have like a system so that like when these are like my running ones, and when the running ones go bad, those become like my podcast listening ones or something. Did you ever, I think it was in Boy Scouts, there was some leader, I don't know who it was, or someone they knew, where they had a system like that for their shoes, where they only ever bought one pair of shoes, but it was something like they're like brown loafers, and when he got new brown loafers, those were his dress shoes. And when he got another set of new dress shoes, those brown loafers became like his work shoes. And when he got another set, and they just like moved down the line, so it would go like really new shoes, to work shoes, to like yard work shoes.
That sounds really familiar. But
it was a system where he'd always buy the same pair, and he would just move it down the line as they got shittier, to the point where it's just like he would mow the lawn in these really shitty brown loafers. And it's like such like a bachelor-esque thing to do, but or just like it makes sense like logically, but it's also
who the hell is that? Because I know that happened. That happened.
Yeah,
I know one of the leaders did that. Wasn't Mr. Coonfield for sure. Probably wasn't Mr. Zom.
We can think about it after the podcast. I just know that it was like something that it's like I remember that so vividly because it's like, yeah, that works, but that's also I don't know weird. But like I can't give any reason why that's not something you would want to do. But
I mean, it seems efficient.
Yeah, it seems efficient until you like maybe I think it came up because they stopped making that pair of shoe. Like that kind.
Oh.
And that's why I knew about it, is he was talking about how he used to do that, and then they stopped making that, and that threw off his system. I want to say that was it. Otherwise, other stuff that's been happening is I'm working on doing a bunch of like stuff for the website, and as part of that, I'm trying to get over this huge hump of making a test website, which is basically like a local version of a website.
Okay.
That I can run.
When you say local, you mean on your hardware?
On my PC, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not publicly accessible. I have access to everything in its current state. But then ideally, when I make something that works on the test website, I can push it very easily to the new one. Because I can do it right now to make a test website. But basically what it is I make the changes on the test website, and if it doesn't break, then I try to make all the exact steps on the real website. Okay. And that doesn't always work.
When you say ideally, you transfer it over. What's the ideal and not in practice?
Well,
portion?
In practice, if I have to go hit 20 buttons to see if it works on the test website, I shouldn't have to hit 20 buttons on the real site to recreate it.
Right.
Like it's the equivalent of, oh, I want to publish an article. So now I write it on Word, and then I go to the website and rewrite it like stroke for stroke. That's what I'm currently doing. Sometimes. Whereas what I'd like it to be is, yep, all those changes work. Well, take this version, put it over there.
I guess I was trying to say is why doesn't it work the way you want it to?
Because I don't know how to do that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if
basically I have 2 entirely unrelated sites.
Okay.
And I don't know how to manage like dependencies. Like for example, like there's certain things that point to my live database. Well, I don't have that on the local site. Or like there's just annoying things, like it's very hard to make them match 1-to-1. Like I got a whole thing working and then I realized like all the software that was running the test website was completely different than the live website, so it wasn't really important.
So how has Stack Overflow helped you with this?
Not at all. And I was going to talk about that because I'm trying to set up the website using a technology called Docker. And so the point is I'm going to recreate it all locally and then do this whole thing. So I'm not going to be updating the site other than the podcast. So I don't know what the state of the questions are going to be. We'll have, I think, a couple more questions we can go through on the next podcast when Jamie's over here. But I'm going to migrate all that. And that's what I want to get. But the big thing is I went and I just tried to throw out like on different like forums like Stack Overflow, Reddit and stuff. Like what do other people who have Drupal sites do for like their test websites? And oh my God, did I get like the dumbest fucking responses. Like I would think like test website, like that's a pretty normal thing. Don't make changes in production. And I got like the first dude that answered me was like, why would you want that? It's like, what does that mean? Like why would I want to not make untested live changes on my production website? Like these are people who like work for a company and do this. I just do this as a hobby and I want to make a website. Why is that so crazy? And I'm just like,
it's like, yeah, this sounds like Yahoo Answers.
Yeah, well, that's what basically it does. And Stack Overflow wasn't helpful at all. They just like linked me to like, well, this is how this guy did it. It's like, that guy just has really good backups and he just essentially does the live stuff and then he just can back up instantly. Yeah. So it's like, oh, that everything's crashing, revert to 10 seconds ago. Like that also kind of works, but not ideally. Like what if I have to make a change that takes longer than 10 seconds? Or like might take a whole weekend? How do I do this? I was just amazed at the lack of help and knowledge out there. Or I assume people have done it. It's just can't find those people. That's the issue. God damn.
There's so much garbage.
It's so annoying. So I'm trying to recreate it all using Docker, which if I can do it will be like the holy grail because it's like a virtual machine.
Right.
So you just get it working on the virtual machine and then you install Docker on your web host and then you can just tell it to remake that same virtual machine. So it runs no matter where you port it. So that means like I could have a local test site because I just run my own local version of Docker and then that simulates this virtual machine that runs ideally for me. So in fact, I could have multiple test sites.
So you're just trying to figure out how to implement that.
And also how to get it to like mesh well with that. Like it's a whole thing. It's a big hump to get over. And in the meantime, I'm not going to spend time updating the main site if I'm going to just recreate it all locally. So that's going to be a huge project. Plus I'm also starting that other like Java project and that's going to take time and I'm lazy.
Is that at work or in here?
This is for me.
Okay.
But that's different from YouTube stuff. I haven't started yet because I'm lazy and it's like a whole thing. But yeah, Stack Overflow, not helpful. The Drupal subreddit, more helpful. Like still kind of not amazing, but good.
Like at least they're putting the effort in to actually.
Yeah, like there's a couple people there who actually had really like helpful things to say. Then there's a few like said like, oh, I just do it in production. It's like, you answered the question technically, but you didn't really help anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah. Otherwise, big one is, I don't know if you saw YouTube has a new policy on monetization for channels.
No.
So now you have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 minutes of watch time per month. Otherwise, you can't monetize.
Okay.
So which means I'm getting demonetized, which is not a huge deal because I don't make a lot of money. But that means I should really sit and like rethink my strategy. So I'm going to be hopefully doing more stuff like that. Like I want to actually...
Why? Why would they... Why?
I think they're doing it... So like they have issues with like ads. I don't know if you've read any of that, like advertisers and ads.
Well, I mean...
That whole thing.
They've had like the adpocalypse things, but how do they... I don't understand how they're having so much trouble with this.
I don't know. I don't think I'm the best to speak on it, but it sounds like they're trying to cut out a lot of those like smaller, shittier channels. And the idea is that...
But if people are watching them and playing the ads, it doesn't matter who's playing, who it's happening to. If the ad activates and is played, it fulfilled its job.
Yes.
So why does that matter?
Because companies don't want to pay for that ad, I guess. Like by cutting, like, yes, like I've been wanting this too. Like I assume like people that have less than 1,000 subscribers individually probably don't get a lot of traffic, but over the whole of YouTube, I imagine that's a pretty substantial amount. But I think the idea is that if you do something like this, you're running fewer ads, but the prices of those ads go up overall because they're more targeted to people you want and they're more trusted and like advertiser friendly.
I mean, you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah, so you can charge more for companies buying ad spaces, I believe, because they know it's going to be on something they can like support. I believe. But I guess my point, I need to stop messing with my pad. I don't know how I got to where I am.
Oh no, you got that Pornhub. How did that happen?
I don't know. But I'm going to hope to try branching out because like I've definitely, I think before I started the podcast, I've been very like, I didn't advertise as much. And usually that's when I saw the most growth. And just like simple stuff, like when I was doing a ton of Dead Rising stuff, just going and post like, hey, I'm going to be streaming the Dead Rising 1. I'm going to try and beat the game using only melee, like my fists. Come hang out if you want to watch.
Oh, and then you started doing chop till you drop.
Yeah. Well, even simple like that, like advertising it helps. Because right now, the only thing that draws people to my channel is if it pops up in a YouTube search. Because like I don't do any other advertising.
I guess that's true.
So I need to do that. Or like one thing I'd like to do is I think the podcast is really one of the better things I do and put out there. But it definitely suffers from the fact that it doesn't mean as much if you don't actually know me or you. It's like it's people I don't know talking for an hour. So I'd like to start doing stuff to kind of like, I want to say monetize it, but it's not what I mean. Like start promoting it, start leveraging it. I think would be a better way to put it. I want to do some other stuff like that. But so that's what I'm talking about. So like I've been doing a ton more streaming just with different things. Like I'll do every Tuesday, we do a Destiny stream, doing a raid. That's okay. Destiny 2, not as greatly interesting to watch. And I think even I get bored of like chirping new people through the Leviathan raid constantly. Just like you stand on the plate, you shoot the bottom arrow, and you're fine. You're fine. It's frustrating.
And then, like the thing is, I haven't played since before Curse of Osiris, and I'm afraid to go back.
It's not that bad. You'd get up to power level pretty quickly.
Well, there's that also. Just like I started playing Monster Hunter.
I saw that,
which is fun, which you can download at any time.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, ooh.
And that's fun. And that's basically, I still have to, I'm like at the very end of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I just have to beat it. But the problem is I don't know how long it takes me in a sitting. Like I don't want to be like going in like the final boss fight, but the boss fight's going to take like an hour. And then I only have like 45 minutes.
Right. I mean, end game, like your first time playthrough.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, man, if you're like 100%ing it, I was like, isn't that massive?
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And I've obscene hour count on that. But I think a lot of it also is that there are, you know how like in Assassin's Creed you could send your minions to go do stuff. There's that in this game too, but the game has to be on.
Oh yeah.
So like there've been times like I'm gonna leave it for 4 or 5 minutes. I'm gonna go do something, come back. They're gonna like touch the joysticks a little bit, leave again.
I mean, you can talk to me about that. Like, I'll play Destiny like when I edit, or especially earlier on, like in my old apartment where it was really easy to get to my PC. I would just do like laundry. So it's like, yeah, it looks like I played Destiny for 10 hours today, but a lot of that I was not in the room.
Yeah.
Or I would constantly do that with Dota 2 because you'd launch Dota, but it just takes you to like the client, which is just like, here's the news. You go join a game, do all this other stuff, and I would forget that's running. So it looks like you played 24 hours of Dota 2 today. It's like, I didn't. I played one game and forgot it was running.
Yeah.
At least that's my defense. But
it's like, yeah.
So I totally understand you there. But I'm trying to power through all these games. And particularly that's why I've been like ramping up the Let's Play stuff on the channel as well. Because I want to use that for like a dedicated time. So I just played a game called 3/4 Home and another one called White Knight, which is currently coming out. And
which one is the one that you were saying was like, it was pretty good, but it was worth $3?
It would be 3/4 Home. Which
okay.
It's like 2 hours long on total. It's more of like an experience than it is like a game. It's set like this college age girl is driving back through rural Nebraska to her parents' house.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like really relevant. Actually, that's one of the reasons I kind of like, oh, from Nebraska. I'm going to get this. It was on sale. And it's just her talking to her parents while like there's a storm outside her car, and it's just the phone conversation as she drives back. And she's like driving back from like her family farm or something. And like she had to come back from college because her dad lost his leg in like an automotive accident. Like, cause he was like a mechanic.
Is this like a period game? Like, is it supposed to be like years ago, or is it supposed to be like pretty
It's
recent?
like modern day.
Okay.
But funny you mentioned that's White Knight's a period game. And And it's just like them talking, and it's like, okay, so they're not doing great on money because he essentially can't work. She came back from college to help out. Her brother, who's like 12, has like some like autism disorder or something. That's like where he has to go to therapy to make sure he's like socially okay and stuff. I don't remember the exact thing. And it's just like, it's
Is
very
his name John.
What?
Is his name John?
No, his name is Ben.
Okay.
But like then you talk to him, and he like talks about all these like stories he's writing, and he reads you one. And after the game, you can go see all the other stuff he was writing. It's really interesting. It's just kind of like relaxing, but it's not really of a game. It's just kind of you navigate a conversation, but the topics don't change anything. It's just what you choose to talk about.
Okay. So you're not even technically, you're not like controlling the car.
You hold right trigger and the car goes forward. And if you let off the trigger, the car stops. That's like the only control. And then you hit X to go to like the next dialogue option and A to pick an option. And you can turn the music on and off. That is it.
So it's not a horror game.
No, but I totally thought it was, because like, if I don't have it pulled up, but it looks like there's a house that's made to look like a skull. I don't know if you remember the kids' books that were like spooky stories, and they would always have like the illusions where it's like two people like sitting on the ground looking at the moon, but it's meant to like look like a skull. That's what the impression I got. And when you're driving, you're like, oh, something's going to happen, and then just nothing happens. It's like Gone Home when you play it.
I was going to say, like, the sounds like Gone Home.
Where I feel like it's
probably like,
it's just spooky enough to keep you like awake, but really it's not scary at all. It's not the point of it. And that's what I kind of relate to. But it was interesting, I guess, not because I could heavily relate to the characters, but it's kind of cool. They're like, her brother Ben's like, oh yeah, we got to take him to his new therapist because he like wrote a really angry letter to his current one, but it's really far away because they live in like the Panhandle, and the new therapist is like on some Dodge Street office in Omaha. And it's like, oh, I can relate to that. Like I live near Dodge in Omaha, and that was kind of neat. Or they just talk like you drive by all the like those electricity windmills. You know what I'm talking about?
Turbines?
Yes, turbines. Like they're just in the background there. It's like, oh, that's cool. I think you go by Chimney Rock at one point.
In Iowa?
I think of the ones in Iowa, but it's supposedly in this one you drive. She's in Nebraska and she drives by.
I mean, there are a couple. I mean, a few in Nebraska, but there's like one near this like little town or something like that. But so like, Iowa's just fields of wind turbines.
So I think the thing is, like, I liked the game a little bit because of stuff like that, or like as you're going through, at one point, like the tornado sirens turn on, and it's like, oh man, I totally can relate to that.
Yeah.
So that was neat. But
is it night or is it day?
It's like the sun's going down.
Okay.
It's like she went out to her family's farm at like 4 o'clock.
Do you get to see a tornado?
No. I don't. I think at one point you might, but it's like dark and there's like lightning. I think in the background of the shot of one shot there is, but you have to be really quick to see it. It'll make sense when you.
So in other words, like you're playing like I could be dying on my way here.
Well, if you want to see what the game is, I have a great Let's Play of it to recommend to you. But I just thought it was neat, and it was like I want to play more stuff like that on the channel. Like where like I don't really know what this is. It's Nebraska themed. I'll play that. So the other one I'm playing is White Knight, which is the one that really surprised me. It loaded like I thought it was gonna be exactly like that, where it's like, oh, it seemed like 2 people. It was a passion project. There's a lot of depth to it, but it's not like huge high quality. And then the second one I load up, it's called White Knight. Night spelled Night.
So like nighttime.
Yes, like opposite of day. And it's set in the 1930s. You're a dude driving home from a bar, and you see
like is that important? Like it's the United States also.
It's U.S.
Okay.
Like Great Depression. They very specifically call that out constantly. I want to say like Oregon or something. No, California probably. I think it's California, like Northern California. Driving home, and you crash your car because you see a ghost. And your dude's injured, so he wanders to the nearest house, which, surprise, is a haunted manor. Okay. And you navigate that. And the game's big gimmick is you basically... It looks almost like a Telltale game. Like not in gameplay, but just in that art style. Except they took the contrast all the way up, so you only see blacks and you only see whites. Like there's no grayscale. It's just everything's black or white. So if something's lit, it's white. If it's black, you can't see it. And they'll do like outlines of objects to help you see. And it was interesting. I just beat it today. I did like a 4-hour session. It was pretty decent. Like I'd give it like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Like not crazy, but I really enjoyed it. And it surprised me because I basically bought these 2 games like for the same price side by side. This one's like published by like Activision. It's like fully fleshed out. And yeah, it's only like 6 hours long. But it was a really solid 6 hours.
White Knight is Activision?
Yeah, it was published by Activision, which it came up in the opening title screen. It's like, wow, I did not expect that, and that like it definitely I guess showed more than basically the indie one. That it was just like way more fleshed out of a game, and it was neat. I think it definitely took some inspiration from Silent Hill 2, but I would actually that one if you feel like playing a scary game that's not like scary like grotesque horror, that would be it, because the main thing is like. Its big gimmick is the only light you have is like a match you carry around and it goes out periodically.
In White Knight.
Yeah, in White Knight. Not 3-4 Silent.
Well, no, I was thinking Silent Hill. I'm like, Silent Hill, I thought you had a flashlight.
No, like the story-wise. There's a slight thing in the story. It's like, oh, that's very Silent Hill too. I just finished it, so it's like recently in my mind. But like, what's scary is the monster in this game are just these women made of like these like kind of like black mist ink paint things. It's not exactly clear.
So they do look like the humanity things and the Dark Souls.
Maybe a little bit, not as like silvery, but because you see like an actual ghost, and the ghost glows, which is separate. But the thing is, it's very static because the woman who's like haunting was blind. So a lot of times you have this little tiny light source, and you're in this big room, and she's like standing in different parts, and you're like, is she in this room? And you're like exploring, and you'll be like slowly walking. You'll just like do a 180, like, nope, she's in that chair. It was solid. The downside,
when you say static, you mean not moving or like snowy?
Static isn't. She doesn't really move.
Okay.
She's basically like she's over there in the corner, and then she's over here, and then maybe she does a little bit of patrol in a separate room.
How is she omnipresent?
That would be spoilery.
Okay.
I actually would say like you'd recommend it.
Okay.
And I want to wait. We can talk after the fact. I just don't, since it's coming out right now for the channel, it won't be done for like another week or so. We can talk about it more. But I don't know. I think I have ideas, but I'm not sure. I was going to ruminate on it as I edit it, because that's one of the reasons I also like doing like let's plays for stuff I want to enjoy, is because basically I play it once and I edit it twice. And you get a whole lot of the story when you're sitting watching it again very recently. So I'm sure I'll have a different opinion after rewatching everything, knowing what to look for. Like, oh yeah, I was wondering why this came to fruition. Here's this note I now know is important from earlier on because I know the ending or something like that. But I guessed the ending halfway through and I have video proof. So that was cool. But the downside of it is it's very based off of like light and darkness. And there's a lot of times when you're managing like your matches that turns out a lot of that game when you don't have light really is just you stumbling around in the darkness, where you're just like literally feeling on the wall for a light switch. That is a lot of that game, and that is kind of annoying.
So can you die?
You can get caught and you reset to the last save point.
So it's supposed to be like you die, or
I don't think it's an actual death. I have theories about it. I'd say you should play it or watch it. Well, what we should do is we should set it up so you can play the games I get, like I can play the games you get. Because we have different tastes. And you can play all the random indie stuff I have.
But on the topic of kind of like indie horror things, you know how like Five Nights at Freddy's has been like that huge phenomenon.
Good games.
And I don't know. See, I don't actually play them. My enjoyment is like game theory's whole thing about it. Like, I don't know why. Like, I don't absorb the game because they're a game. I absorb like what is the phenomenon of it. But supposedly that's supposed to be getting a movie. But you know what else is getting a movie that's loosely based off of the game, that's loosely based off of a phenomenon in real life? Slender Man.
Really?
Yes. That movie's coming out pretty soon. There is a trailer for that movie.
I almost want it to be bad just so I can hear all the jokes people have. Like it is like a Slender Man experience because I didn't even want to look at it or something. I feel like that's so open. You could make the plot anything you want. Like, so yeah, there's no reason it would have to be bad. You know, like you could make, it's just basically a horror game with not a horror game, a horror movie generic with a fancy name attached. It probably would do decent.
Yeah. There's like, I know Funhouse was doing a podcast and they were talking about there's a part where like it looks like a lot of it doesn't involve him, but there's like a part where there's a girl in the woods and like she turns and you can see the Slender Man, and she's behind a pretty slender tree. and like she looks, and then she goes back and like, oh well, you're not gonna show like it's gonna be there, but then one of the points like they rewound like that tree's not very wide. She looks over there. She comes back. Looks like the tree's like twice as wide. It's like the Slender Man's right there. Like he went right behind her. Like he's like right behind that tree. So it's like, oh, she looks like, oh, she goes there, comes back, and they're like, he's right there. He's right there. It's like, God damn it.
God. Did you ever watch It Follows on Netflix?
No. That actually went to theaters, right?
I assume so. It was a really good movie. So I would think
like that. Yeah, that's a movie I kind of want to.
Yeah,
I
it's good. But
watch.
The reason I bring it up is it reminds me of that, where it has very good camera angles. Because the big thing is like there's a monster that disguises itself as like people that just slowly walks to you, right? So there's a lot of shots where it's just like you'll watch two characters talking, and then there's someone in the back that just like turns a corner and starts walking at the camera. And it's like the stress is building because they don't notice it yet, but you as a viewer do it. It's like, is that the guy? Is that the guy? And it just reminds me like those creative camera shots. Whereas like watching Slender Man, it might be like that too, where it's like that camera cut was him moving or something. So, but before we get off the topic of games, there's another game I was playing that I want to talk to you about because it's really good. I've been playing a ton of Bayonetta, and oh my god, it is really good. It is really good. I went in expecting to be impressed, and my expectations were blown off. Just blown. Oh my! It is really good. I really recommend it. Also, not only did they announce 3 this month, they also announced 1 and 2 coming out for Switch.
Ooh. Well, I know 2 originally only came out for Wii U.
The Wii U, yeah.
Which is really weird to me.
Yeah, because they said, I was listening to something, and apparently like they thought it was like, oh man, the only thing we can get to like produce this is Nintendo. They're gonna come in and stomp all over it, right? And then no, Nintendo was like, nah, do whatever you want.
Well, they kind of needed any help they could get with the Wii U.
Yeah,
that was a really poor choice in calling it the Wii U.
Mm. But yeah, I think that cost them. Yeah, people didn't think it was like a new console.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's just like an add-on.
Mm.
I mean, granted, it actually had. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the touchscreen controller. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure were the same exact controllers. So, in a way, it was using a lot of the same hardware, but still.
But yeah, I can't recommend Bayonetta enough. Like I was doing streams where I was like speed running it. I can beat the game in under 3 hours, and that's like I suck at it.
Yeah.
But it's just like when you're talking about Prey, and we can talk about Prey in a second.
Yeah.
How you talk about how like, oh, there's so many ways to solve a puzzle, but not like in, oh, here's one of 3. It's like here's several. Like there's so many solutions. Yeah. I feel like Bayonetta is that with like combat, where every time it's like I have played like 60 hours of that game, and every 20 minutes something amazing happens, and then I realize the amazing thing that implies. So like I was playing it, and there's like some challenge that was like stay in the air for 60 seconds. It's like cool. That's in other games like that. And man, I had a really hard time. So I was like, let me look up how this is done. It's like, I didn't know that. You can jump off enemies' heads. That's cool. Like that's impressive. That's cool. I like that. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have a whip that can pull enemies to me. Boom, infinite jump. Just happened. Wait a minute, if I hold down A, I can shoot the guns on my feet.
That launch you up?
Well, slightly. That's the next one where you actually can get rocket launchers you put on your feet, and those propel you upwards. And it's like every 20 minutes, it's just like, wait a minute, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. It's like so much fun. Like it's ridiculous. Like there's so much I want to talk about, and it just the story makes no sense whatsoever. It's just like all over the place. But I learned it's because they essentially sat down and designed all the characters. Like we want this character, this character, this character. This is how they interact. And now that we have everything fully formed, let's try and find a story where this would happen. And it's just like there's so many times I'm watching that where something ridiculous happens, and I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. That's exactly how this would go. Like at one point, you go fight like one of the final bosses, and they comment about how he built like this island with all these like missiles and shit on every building, and they like have like a line like, oh, he's weaponized the city, da da da. And then you don't realize in the boss fight that like, no, they mean he weaponized the city, and he launches a skyscraper at you. And it's just like fucking perfect. And then you're like, Bayonetta's like, nope, and you fucking headbutt it back, and it's great. And God, there's so much
You headbutt it back?
You headbutt it back, and she's like, to the moon, and she launches it back at him. It's so cool.
Why?
Because it's awesome. That's not even the. There's so many good parts of that game. There's also so many freaking dumb parts.
Why can she do this?
Because witch powers.
So she made a pact with the devil then.
She made the pact with like several demons, and those are the ones she like summons when she fights and stuff. It's just. I keep thinking I reached a new level with that game, and it's like I beat the game on the highest difficulty. Surely, I've unlocked everything. Nope. What's this? I went back to the shop. Guess what? You just unlocked lightsabers. Fuck, what? It's like, go back and play another 20 hours. Guess what? Now you get gunchucks. Like, nunchucks with guns on them. And they're awesome. And you can, like, throw them and they'll fight enemies for you while you go fuck, like, it's like this dude up over here. It's so ridiculous. Or, like, rocket launchers in your shoes. You can get, like, demonic ice skates. Oh, my God. All the combos are just awesome.
When you say demonic ice skates, you mean, like, they look like ice skates, but it's, like, fire instead?
No, they're ice skates. You need to play the game. There's so much. I think it's top 5, top 10 for sure of games for me. It is really just so much fun to play, and there's just like so many. Like literally, I beat the entire thing. Again, I thought like, nope. Guess what? You can unlock another character that has a whole thing, the whole thing into it, like their own moves, whole system on dodging. There's 3 playable characters. There's a secret boss I just found out about, and he just like kicks my shit.
Wait, you said there are 3 playable characters?
Yeah.
So not just Bayonetta.
Yeah. You play it. They act as Bayonetta in the cutscenes, though. One makes sense. The other one's a complete joke and dies in like 3 hits or something.
Okay.
It's like, God. I think I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna
like a spoiler. Who the other character?
The third one is no.
Yeah.
You can play. So you can play as the other witch.
Oh.
In the game, Jean, and you can play as what?
Jean.
Jean is
like
the name.
Jean of Arc.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can play as Zero, who's like this little ghost demon.
Oh, so he's not a domestic terrorist.
No, he's not. So, but it's hilarious because he has like no limbs, and Bayonetta is all about like having guns on her hands and her feet, and they just float. There's a bunch of cutscenes that are just stupid with him.
Why does he die so fast?
I think it's just meant to make him weak, and then he has other perks like he's faster than Bayonetta.
Oh,
depending until you unlock the ability to turn into a panther, and then they're all the same speed, I believe, for that.
I was just gonna say, to me, it sounds like a Hanar. Like this sounds like Blasto in Mass Effect.
I can't recommend it enough. The only complaint I have is when I went in, I thought like, oh, this might be a little weird because like I played it first when Jamie was over, and it's like I don't know this game's impression. It might be a little over the top on the sex thing, and it is for like 2 chapters, and then it's fine. There's like maybe one execution move that I don't use on stream because it's a little weird. That's it.
Which is?
It's when you execute the joy enemies, which are like basically copies of your character. You need to play the game to explain. It's not terrible. It's just like it zooms in on their boobs. That's it.
Their boobs or your boobs?
Theirs. Because they're meant to be like essentially a clone of you.
Right.
Like, I think like in
but you're killing them, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird or like disturbing?
It's not disturbing. It's not relevant. It's just zooming in for the jiggle thing. It's just dumb.
Oh.
But they're like, so you don't remember like the alloys in Brawl? Where like they don't have any of your special moves, they have all your moves. Mm-hmm. It's basically that type of enemy. They're super annoying.
Speaking of Brawl, though, or Super Smash Brothers, I think she was in the.
Yeah, she was in the more recent one.
Like, it perplexes me again. It's like this is supposed to be a pretty family-friendly game, and then you throw like the most sexualized character in almost anything, and it's like, why not?
You should play it. It's not even that bad. Like it's like literally, it's like the first cutscene. It's a little awkward. It's just fun.
One cutscene I remember, I think it's the first one where she's in a cemetery with this guy and he's taking a piss, and then things start erupting out of the ground, and then she does the hair thing.
Yeah, that happens. Well, the hair, that's the other thing that's probably is annoying if you like come out to it out of context. It's like some of the demons, they like essentially are made up of her hair, but so is her outfit, and you don't see anything. It's just like. You don't want your mom to walk in when you're doing this. That's the only thing that sucks.
I guess the other thing is like, is she a good person or bad person? Because she's a witch and she makes pacts with demons. That heavily implies she's not up to a moral standard. But she's fighting someone who's literally weaponized the city.
Yes. I'd say she's a good person, but I leave that up to you. She never actually hurts anyone, I don't think. She only fights angels. Because she's supposed to be a foil for Dante from Devil May Cry.
A foil, you mean like anti?
So like he fights demons.
Yeah.
And she's a chick that fights angels. And I've never played Devil May Cry, but
so is she supposed to be in the same universe as him?
I don't think so. I've never played Devil May Cry, but I can't imagine. But they share a lot of references.
What are angels in Bayonetta? Like they're not.
They're like creatures. So like there's like 3 rings, and it's like the first ring are like angels, and they're like very humanoid enemies, and then they're basically everything above that are like giant, like summons from Final Fantasy-esque things.
So, but they're like organisms.
Yes. They're like fleshy.
So they're not supposed to be like angelic. They're
angelic for that universe.
Okay.
Like they are from like Paradiso, as I call it, and they are like can like resurrect stuff in theory. Okay. You should play the game. It's like I said, they made the characters and then they made the plot.
So it's not supposed to be like Earth.
It's Earth, but it's not like a real world, I assume.
So it's like Gotham type shit from like
basically
DC, like
basically
Gotham.
Yeah,
like it's Earth, but then all of a sudden there's this weird city here for
yeah, you go to a fictional European city called Vigrid. Vigrid, yeah.
Okay,
so
sounds like Norse.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's like if you watch gameplay of it, it just looks like the most ridiculous thing. Like there's so much going on. Like I understand all of it now. God, I just can't say enough good things. I would totally love you play because it's just like, man, it's a whole nother level. And there's like just 2 mechanics in that game that make it really good that change it for me. Because I played Dante's Inferno and a little bit of like God of War, and it's decent, but there's always things that bugged me about that genre. Particularly about how you have to like wait for enemies to like let you hurt them, and that's very like Legend of Zelda style. Like I hate the boss fights that are just like wait for them to do the counterable attack, and then you hit them 3 times and then resets. Not an issue in Bayonetta. Awesome. There's so many things. Is like in that game, anything that you can do would be a cutscene in any other game. Like turning into a freaking cat and like jumping over this chasm by jumping on enemies' heads. That would be a cutscene. Nope, that's regular gameplay. Regular gameplay. I just have so many things to say, and it's really good. I don't want to play 2. 2's not as good as I hear, but we'll see without 3.
Oh, 2's not as good as you hear?
No, it's not as in depth, is what I hear. Oh. So like, what's great is like there's just so much depth in like one single weapon in Bayonetta, and then in 2 it's a little bit more just kind of you just need to push buttons.
I was gonna say, I remember like when Bayonetta 2 came out, like all the Nintendo people were like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Like Bayonetta is like 10 out of 10. And I'm like, okay.
Well, it could still be a good game. I think.
Right. I'm not saying it. I don't think it's just that I remember hearing like really good things about it. I'm like, but you're saying this one's so good, but then at the same time saying that this one's probably better in a way. I'm like, well,
there's just more depth to it. Like you can just theorize new combos and stuff, and it's so much fun. And I hear like 2 is just a lot more of like it's straightforward. Like, yep, that's it. I'm fully utilizing the potential of this. Whereas like there's just like ridiculous combos in 1. They're just like, you can do that. That's the best praise I can give it. Just every 20 minutes, something fundamentally amazing I find. Just like, and I can just go on like the whole like jumping off people's heads all the way to the rocket launch thing. Like it's that for every single mechanic in the game. Like, well, if I can do it with this, can I do this too? Can I do this too? It's like, you totally can. And the game like totally rewards like you would get an accessory that you can tap like the left stick in the direction of where you're going to take damage the instant you will, and it'll parry it. And you can parry literally every single damage source in the game, I think. So any boss, any like basic enemy, any attack you can parry if you can time it.
What's the timing like?
So you have like, if you get frame perfect, it activates Witch Time, which is like slows it down. You gain magic and you get an auto counter. And then there's a softer window where you just block it. So, and that one's actually not that hard to hit. But you would think like, there's some ridiculous like freaking boss hits you with a laser attack that like is active for like a whole second, and it's checking every 60th of a second that if it hits you, you can block every single instance of that. And it just sounds ridiculous. It's like, and you come out fine and you fully charge your magic and like, oh, it's time to fuck you up. It's just so much fun. Like the more I play that game, the more fun it gets. And I'm so excited. And I would love to have you beat it just because it's like, at least then we could talk about it. Like, man, I remember playing through it the first time, and I was like, I didn't know how to do that. I was so stupid. I couldn't dodge offset. I'm fucking flip. Huh. So that's my whole thing. It's really good. So I'm going to do like more speed runs of it for the stream, because just so it's in depth and stuff, and it's fun. And people come in and be like, "What are you playing? Like, what is happening on this screen?" You don't even know.
Well,
so
what is the time frame for the third game? When can you say sure?
I know they announced it, but I don't think they've. It was just like they announced that it's coming. I don't know if they announced the release date. I haven't looked into it too much yet. But considering I just started, I can get through too somehow. I'll see. I figured that, again, I don't know. Jamie's sister has a Switch. You have a Switch. Cole has a Switch, or
I have a Switch, but I don't know if the game can be played.
No, they announced it for the Switch too.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
So,
my question is, why haven't they ported to another console? Also, what console is 3 going to be on? Is that
it's like all Nintendo now, because 2 is just Nintendo. I think it's sticking with Nintendo. I think they ported to PC. 1 is also on PC.
Okay.
But I don't think 2 is. If not, I'll go buy it today. But that's my whole thing. We can talk more about it because it's awesome, but that can be after the podcast. Otherwise, I'm hoping to do some more stuff for Prey, which Prey, it feels really Bioshocky, but I was going to talk to you like...
there's a very strong, like with the machines even, some of the abilities. What have you done in it?
I played like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. Like I've done the first EVA, right, extra vehicle, where you go out and find some stuff. I did like first encounter. I really liked the intro, and it totally got me. Like I thought, like, oh yeah, I'm going to go.
It's very cinematic.
Yeah. Do you know, if I have one regret, it's that I accidentally broke my screen in the office when there's that one cutscene, and then
you ruined it.
Well, I broke part of it, and then I was trying to watch the cutscene through like the looking glass thing, and I kept accidentally walking into it, and it was breaking. So I had to like find like a perfect like little wedge that was still working, so I could see into the room.
Oh no, I'm sorry, in your office.
Yeah, in my office.
I was thinking, during like in your room. I'm like, okay, there's a button you can push that will reset it in your office.
Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
But it just blew my mind. I was wondering how they did that simulation, like where you have all the depth. But yeah, you have that looking glass system, which is cool.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing. Even though it's like all in a virtual world, but it's like, oh yeah, it's like it really acts like even though it's a screen, like you're
like it's a whole, it's like
room behind it.
Yeah, there's depth.
Yeah, so, like I don't know, it was such a, I really like that.
So I think I'm definitely gonna keep playing it. The only thing is I wanted to make it into like a more of a let's play, so I could do it for the channel, and then I just like consume it better. The only downside is it feels like the game really wants to slow you down, because it's like a lot of sneaking and it's a lot of just picking up junk, which is a cool system, but it seems like a lot of, I could max out my bullets if I just go dig in the trash over there. If I go 2 sections back and just grab all this junk.
You also got a wrench too.
I have a
melee wrench. Just like
I have the goo gun. I did not expect the goo gun.
Yeah, the goo gun.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Is pretty cool.
So
it's like it's not goo, it's glue.
Oh, the glue gun. Okay,
but it's not glue as in like it's like
GLOO.
Gelatinous, life, something organic, something or other. So it's like, it's interesting. Like there are a lot of cool mechanics in that game.
Yeah, so I think it's fun. Like going back to like why I discard like Bayonetta. Like the first thing that really clicked for me was the foam dart launcher. Because I thought that was going to be dumb. He's like, okay, I can hit buttons. This is going to be like Portal, where it's like, you can hit this button, and it's the giant thing on the wall. It's like, no, you can literally hit any button screen.
Yeah.
So it seems just like, that'd be cool to see like a speed run where it's like, okay, now we have to go like take this quest from that console over there. Bang. Okay, we activated it just because they know exactly where to aim to hit it across the map. Like, that's totally possible. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
Well, also, like, again, like, there are rooms like, oh, there's a room where all you have is the that little ticket slot. So it's like either you could morph, go into there, figure out how to hack another thing, or you can kind of shoot it with that little dart gun if you have the ammunition and the gun with you, or and if you can find the angle.
And I gotta say, the first time you see a mimic, that totally got me.
Yeah.
In that opening cutscene, I was like, I knew they're in this game. I did not expect it there. That was really good.
Yeah, the cup. Yeah.
Yeah, that really got me. I really liked the intro. So, and I haven't played it since. Yeah, I haven't played it since because I've been finishing up 3 Force Home and White Knight. But I think that's gonna be the next. I just don't know how well it will work for like a Let's Play because it's all like action, not a ton of narrative. Whereas you play something like White Knight, it's like 80% narrative, like 20% gameplay. FPSs are like inverted, I think. Where if you want to go seek it out, the world's all there, but you don't get a ton of like story.
Right.
Compared to like just running around and shooting. But we'll see. Like I said, the only thing that annoys me is just how much the game wants me to just slow down. So
There are definitely parts where like, there are enemies that will easily fuck your shit. And then there are other times where it's like not, but like I don't know what triggers different enemies to like spawn in. Like I don't know if it's like progress in the game or doing so many things. But literally time like you clear area, like you run through, you make sure you kill all this goddamn mimics. Come back and like later it's like there's a mimic over there. Why is there a mimic over there? Why? I killed it. I killed them. What? Why is there another one? God damn it.
the mimics are interesting. They're not what I expected. Because I guess I expected more like Gary's mod where it would go find an object and then go hide. But they can't move once they're objects, right?
Right.
So I think what's came more interesting is it's like more of like, I know there's a mimic and I know it's here, but that doesn't solve my problem. Like I was low on health. It's like, there's 2 coffee cups. I have 1 health. I'm just going to seal off this room with the glue gun. I'm not going to deal with it. Just because I could, it's 50% chance either I kill it or I break the wrong cup and it wakes up and hits me.
Or it's like, or you could just glue it and then it's frozen and then you hit it.
It didn't seem to activate unless they're actually in their form, like they're in their animal form or whatever. Like if they're a cup,
they'll forcibly transform if you hit them with it, and then you can
with the glue.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not.
Like they will, if you interact with them physically at all, I believe they will transform.
Okay,
But they'll revert back, and they actually talk about it like in the game where they're not literally transforming. It's more like they are phasing into out of existence and taking place with something like a parallel universe, where it's like they're copying the cup if it was right there.
Okay. Interesting. I've only encountered 2 of the alien enemies and then the robots.
To the alien, you mean like
the mimics, and then I guess like
they're like
basic
shadows,
dudes,
kind of. Or what? I don't remember. Phantoms.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. It's like actually like there's a lot of interesting narrative things in that. Also, like there are some soft. They're interesting. Like there are subtle decisions you can make in the game that are interesting. Like one character. A lot of it, like a big thing, is like what does your character remember? You've talked to a Friday.
Is that the operator?
Yes.
The AI?
Is that Friday?
No, that's January. I'm thinking of January.
Okay. So yes, January. There's another one like that in the game at one point, but like it's interesting, like seeing like who knows what do you know, what do you know, what did you know, and what don't you know? What's the truth? Like there's one point in the game where you figure out you did something that was really shitty involving one of the other characters' family members. It's like, do you tell them about that?
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll have to play more of it. I'm definitely going to try and squeeze it in between, now that I have a little more time with finishing White Knight. But yeah, fun stuff. I'm trying to power through all my games and my shows and my projects just as fast as possible. Like I have all this PTO saved up, so I want to spend it just so I can do stuff like that. Like on the website project, I just want to take some PTO. Like I have Monday off actually, and I'm just going to work on this for 10 hours and just get as much as I can done in that uninterrupted time span as I can.
Do you have any of the psionic amps?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'm weak.
But
yeah.
Didn't you get the thing? Didn't you find that in the little museum space? If you went to your office, you got
I got one that gave me like 10 level up points or something. I don't know what I spent it on.
Those were probably just like ability or like health
Yeah.
damage or something like that, but they're actual abilities that you can get at some point. But like the whole aspect, like in Bioshock's like, oh yeah, you stick yourself with the needles or you're drinking like that's like this one just like, no, you just stick it in your eye into your brain.
Yeah, because it goes like right, like where they give like lobotomies.
Yeah.
Like right there, yeah.
Like, I mean, nope, not a fan of that.
Which if I understand, like when you take it out, right, you lose all the memories since you put it in.
If you take it out, you lose the memories that you had since you had them.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, in theory, like every time you wake up, the last thing you remember is stabbing yourself in the eye, right? Like that's like, what's the last thing you remember? I just did this.
No.
Right.
No, which starts like, so I think so if you implant an amp with it, your memory's fine. It's if you decide to take that amp out, that's when you lose the memory you had that from the point that you put it in to the point you take it out.
Okay.
So you remember everything before that if you take it out, or you remember everything if you don't take it out. But if you take it out, you lose everything from the point that you put it in.
Okay. You think in that world they have like duds that are just solely there, so you're like, man, you are really gonna like Halo 5, so put this amp in so you can play it twice by taking it out, and then you can play it again. You think they would have that?
I don't know.
That would be like it's like the nostalgia amp, where it's like if I ever take this out, man, I can play Ocarina of Time like nobody's business. That could totally be a service. Like, sort of like selectively forget something so you can enjoy it again. I'd see that. Yeah. So like, yeah, you could have alien powers, or you could play Ocarina of Time again, like a 6-year-old.
Well, you can use them so you don't have there are abilities that you can have that are human. A lot of it's like the picking stuff up. Like that's somehow human. It feels like a telekinetic power to me, but because you can pick up some big things with it, and like there's almost like a shockwave when you throw them.
Interesting. But you have to play more so I can actually talk about it. I'm still very much like in the intro. Like I just recently, you get it's not a jetpack, but basically the jetpack, and you go outside and it's still being introduced. I still don't know how to
I really like
works.
that aspect. That was a cool thing, putting that in there.
Well, I like the fact that it's always active, so you can just like float around and stuff.
Yeah,
like that's nice. I like having those movement options. So
also like I feel like it's really cool because like velocity, they really do a thing like velocity is a big deal. Like when you go out there, like okay, like you can go out and you can accelerate pretty fast, and then if you don't slow down and you hit something, like it fucking wrecks you.
Yeah, I totally ate it on one of the airlocks when I was trying to go back in.
Yeah, like no,
God damn it.
There's also like you can fly really far away too, like on different parts, and there are parts where like there are some of those rings on like way out in the perimeter, and those are sprinting pretty fast. And there's a point where like you can go out there for like some side stuff, and there are some bodies or stuff like you can interact with, but trying to match the speed and the velocity of those things is kind of difficult. I'm like, that's interesting how they like made that a thing where it's like, yeah, this is spinning and it's fast, and you, unless you're trying, you're pretty much on a tangential velocity, so you got to constantly be like adjusting yourself so you stay with it. Like that.
Interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
It's an interesting game. Yeah, I'm totally looking forward to getting through it. I am curious how long it's going to take. Like, I'm also trying to play Fallout, but I also know Fallout's a whole thing to undertake. Fallout 4, yeah.
Did I lend you 4?
Yeah, it's over there. It's in that Xbox.
I didn't remember if I downloaded that or if I had the disc.
I'm pretty sure it's a disc.
It's a disc, yeah.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a disc.
So, lots of games to play, and I just need to play them. That's it. I just need to play them, and I just need to watch the shows I want to watch. Like, one day I'm going to watch the last season of Game of Thrones. One day. Today's not that day. So, in the meantime, I'm just going to yell at you to play Bayonetta. It's short. Like I said, I beat it 3 hours. It was my speed run. It's up 3 hours. Wow. Now, that being said, I skip all the cutscenes, which are amazing.
The cutscenes are amazing.
There's a lot of they're interesting, I guess. Like one of the things I didn't know, they do this whole like reel effect. We can talk it after, but yeah, I have a bunch of shows to talk about because we haven't seen a month, but I think we're pretty close to time, so we can do another one soon. It's just been a while, and I can hopefully update on all my projects. I need to sit down. I need to work on my website, and I'm too lazy. I don't do it. So hopefully I'll have an update on the next podcast.
We can always talk about Ruby.
Yeah, well that's why I was gonna do that one off podcast.
Yeah.
So we can just go all out. Plus, I didn't know like how long that would go. Like, that's always I'm always torn. Like, there's stuff I want to talk about, but I'm always afraid. Like, I don't want to start an hour long discussion on the podcast, and then it's like, this is only about this. So we can talk about it, yeah. Because I have comments. Yeah. I actually didn't know you were watching it. You just like texted me like, oh yeah, I finished it. It's like, oh.
Well, I binged it in like 2 days.
Yeah, well, I was going to suggest to you we like watch it over here or something if I knew you were up to speed, because I also hadn't seen it yet. So it's like, oh, that's what like.
Well, because you told me to watch this season because it was good. I'm like, oh, okay, so I'll watch it, and I eventually just watched it.
Well, yeah, that one I feel like this season is definitely like every season it's gotten better, and I felt this season's was the first one where it's like this is very solid. Like I think one of the things that I never liked is I like it when they tell the story that the world's meant for. Mm-hmm. And that's so. You see that very early on in the beginning, in like the first episode. You see it like at the end of volume 3, and I felt volume 5 was a lot of that. A lot of that, a lot less of, I'm getting bullied, because I have no self-esteem.
John,
yeah. I mean, that's fine. I think, because overall, that's fine, like on the course of the show, because I think it's meant to be like a lot of, look where they've come from, where you used to worry about this, and now you're like slaying demon monsters. It's kind of like you can't go back, but also like look at how much you've grown kind of thing. But when that was the only experience with the show, like I actually stopped watching it very early on, like the 3rd episode, because I was just like, it's not what I expected. And then I kind of came back to it later.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think the inspiration for Leo was?
Leo, I assume it was like the Wizard of Oz,
the Cowardly Lion. That's why I almost think it has to be that.
Yeah, because he works for Oz, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, he works for Oz. Also, aren't there supposed to be like 4 schools?
Mm-hmm.
And there were 3 people. Like, so there's Dorothy. There's Cowardly Lion.
Is the General the Tin Man?
I think so. I think the General's the
Wait,
Tin
isn't
Man.
his school the axe? Is he the school that has the axes as symbols? Or is that Beacon?
I don't think it's Beacon.
I might look at it. I'm curious about that now. Yeah, it's like, huh.
And like the headmistress, well, not mistress, but Glinda, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what her role is. Assistant.
I also don't understand her magic. Like magic.
She's telekinetic.
Right. So is that her semblance?
Yes. It's vaguely covered in like in the Semblance World of Remnant episodes. They like some people are even telekinetic and they show a thing about her.
I guess it's true.
But it also doesn't explain how she literally like reformed stuff.
Right. Like that almost seems like alchemy from Full Alchemist.
Or it even I got the impression that she was like rewinding time for that object or something. It's not clear. They never talk about it because she's not around. And is her weapon like a freaking like a jockey's whip? Whatever that's called, baton, like for riding horses.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. It's a whip.
Yeah. Why? It's so weird.
Because the instructors, like that's an old timey thing. Like strict instructors have those. And, like they just like smack the desks in front of people.
Okay.
Like I'm pretty sure that's just supposed to be a trope.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We can talk about off podcast,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad you watched it. Like I'm trying to catch up on anything. That's one of the reasons I watched that was like, I'm just gonna sit down. I'm gonna binge it. They're done with the season, volume, whatever it is. But yeah, I plenty to talk about off podcast.
Yeah.
But I don't want to edit a 3-hour-long podcast because I will hate myself. Like literally, when you got to watch all the video feeds, every minute I go over, like I'm doing it right now. I'm hating myself in the future because it's like, why did you not just end? You said you're gonna end in 5 minutes ago, Grant. Because that 5 minutes is gonna take 25 minutes to edit. It's not that bad, but I do it all the time.
So we're cutting.
So yeah. So anyway, I'm Grant. This is Digression Bar episode 12. So if you're listening to this, please feel free to leave a comment, a like. That all helps kind of promote it more. I'd like to keep growing, to do some more fun stuff. I have a couple ideas, and I'd like to make this a little more formal on our end. So like, I'd love to get to the point where we Like, it was nice not getting everything down to the wire like every other podcast episode. Because I did it with Mark and Hannah, and then I did one with you and Jamie, I essentially had a month's worth. That's why there's so much time. Well, because I didn't have to plan a podcast the day before it comes out, I could do stuff like play White Knight, Bayonetta. I could go, I worked on the website and figured out what I need to start working on. Like, that was really nice. Instead of, it's 1 a.m. and it's like, good enough, export. That's usually what it was for like on episode like 3 through 5. So I'm glad to be beyond that. So yeah.
Dark days are behind us.
The dark days are behind us. Hopefully. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.